What up, everybody? Peace, 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 people. Today, I really wanted to just touch bases with some of the people that support me. I know that I have not been around for a while, hit and miss kind of thing. And I hope to see some people that are regulars to chat with them and also talk about what is going on as of late with the Pan Africans who are really showcasing their distress and disdain for us daring to venture out on our own without anybody telling us to do this, but we have decided to delineate. And it really came in a nick of time with everything going on in America, I must say. The timing was really on point. I'm so proud of us finally gathering our strength, our voices to declare our own identity and to not allow immigrants or foreign blacks of any kind to come in and usurper our narrative and describe who we are against our will, because that's what was going on before with Pan-African talk. And I think that, the likes of Professor Smalls, which is on the thumbnail, is really reminiscent on what is going on in the Pan-African spaces. They are very much scattered brain right now on what to do about how to move forward when addressing us. And I wanted to go over what Professor Smalls has been saying, what other people have been saying, like General Seti. I think that he has been a Pan-African for many years, to the point of he looks like he is outdated and out of style. And he is very upset about the FBA identity that's been brought about on social media, because it has really ravished his ability in having making donations and being an influencer of any kind. They have really lost their influence. They have lost their power over us. They have lost their wagging of the finger to try to force us to do things that we shouldn't be doing. That's not a benefit to us in the first place. And they can't scapegoat us as much as they used to be or be able to do. What's up, Dre O5? How are you doing? So first, I just want to give an example of what I mean for those that don't know who Professor Small is. He recently has come out talking about FBA, and those that don't know what FBA is Foundational Black American. It's another name to describe the indigenous American Black of America, the people that are not immigrants, the people that have been here since the beginning of America. We are the indigenous Black American, and some of us have described ourselves as being FBA, and people like myself rather call ourselves indigenous American Black. The reason why I don't call myself FBA is because a lot of people are trying to spin that term into being a hate group, and I see a problem with it a little bit down further if they don't clean up a little bit of what they've been doing on social media. And they have to do other things outside of social media, in my opinion. But yeah, Professor Smalls has been, I guess, in Pan-African talk for about 40 plus years, a long time. And a lot of people have shown him a lot of respect. Even Tariq Nasheed has shown him a lot of respect in times past. But there was a little clip that he had recently made mention in denouncing FBA. And this is what I want to showcase first before I go into his kind of conversation that he's having now, after feeling like he's losing grip. He is losing his grip over the American Black American mind. He no longer can just say, a little sing song, whatever, to convince us and believe in things that are not real. A lot of times people have been able to persuade us into believing stuff that's imaginary, and that's not able to fly anymore. But look at what Professor Smalls had to say, and then we'll get to this in a little bit.
Do not support them or their concept or their attack against Africa.
Let me play.
Do not support them or their concept or their attack against African peoples or their attack against Pan-Africanism, which shows a lot of ignorance and misunderstanding. I'm an African. And if someone wants to clip that little 2 minutes to try to create a critical negative, let those same person look at the other 100 plus videos that I have on the YouTube. And there's a couple of thousand more videos if you want to really go looking, and you will find they're 100% pro-African, pro-freedom, pro-identity, pro-Pan-Africanism. I'm not FBA. Do not support them or their concept or their attack against African peoples or their attack against Pan-Africanism, which shows a lot of ignorance and misunderstanding. I'm an African. And if someone wants to clip that little 2 minutes to try to create a critical negative, let those same person look at the other 100 plus videos that I have on the YouTube. And there's a couple of thousand more videos if you want to really go looking, and you will find they're 100% pro-African, pro-freedom, pro-identity, pro-Pan-Africanism.
Okay, so that was the comment that's really gotten people attention lately, because he sounds really bitter. He sounds really agitated. And I guess him not accepting the fact that we are the people that are setting the trend for what we need to be like right now. The younger generation that is not him any longer. I believe he's like close to 70 years old. If he might even be older than that. But he does bear no weight with what Black Americans intend to act like, be like, identify as. And he really feels butthurt that he does not have a say. He does not have the power of influence to dictate to us what we should describe ourselves as being. Because in his mind, because he's kissed the ring of Pan-Africanism, he set up shop in Ghana, I believe, with some type of business, or I don't know what he does over there, but he has something going on over there in Ghana. But it does not move us to want to be involved any longer with Pan-Africanism, because we see what ultimately Pan-Africanism does to Black Americans. It just utilize our power, our money, everything attached to us is given away to others that are African in Africa, and we are left with nothing to show for in the end. I mean, when you think about all the scams that have happened, many people have ventured to attempt to buy land or attempt to build something, and then it just doesn't pan out. And then after all their effort and all the monies that they put into the project, it is gone for good. But who gains whatever happens wrong is ultimately the continental African. So to me, it's not worth the sacrifice. It's not worth the effort. I really feel like we should stay doing what we're doing here in America, which is getting ourselves together, mentally strong, and moving forward to represent our own narrative here in America, because we are having too many other people that have nothing to do with us here in America trying to scramble about and represent us and take the place of our representation and step out in front of us and claim to be us. And that is so problematic. So for us, delineating is showcasing the fact that we have our own point of view. We do not coexist with other ideologies that are not a benefit to us collectively. And it just shows that they can't contain our voice any longer. It just shows that they can't just trivialize who we are and claim that we're just bots, for instance, because I know that Democrats like to call Black Americans who do speak up for themselves as being either working with the CIA or FBI or a bot, anything but us having our own voice. It's very interesting how a lot of people try to take away our voices by making us into something else that we're not. And for the longest time, you know, you could just say those are bots talking in the chat. You could just say whatever and people would just go along with the lie. But since delineation is in your face all over the place on social media, it's very hard to spin that lie any longer. And this is why the likes of Professor Smalls is speaking out and others are speaking out against us. Now, the biggest, well, not the biggest news, but news that has been recently taken effect is the TPS. The protective status is no longer protecting Somalians in Minnesota. Now, I'll get back to the Pan-African talk a little bit later. I just want to showcase the fact that delineation has helped us cope with these deportations and upcoming issues that other immigrants will be having because of TPS being taken away from them. And I think that, you know, ironically, you know, Minnesota was being taken over by these Somalians. And there's a whole host of fraud that has been going on in Minnesota. And this is why President Trump has now stated that he will terminate the temporarily protective status program in Minnesota. So I want to play a little clip of this first. I think that this was the right decision for him to do. I feel that no foreigners of any kind should be able to come to America and be able to take over a city, a state. It should never, ever be allowed to happen. That could not be allowed in any other country for us to do. So it should not be allowed to happen here on this soil. And it had to come to this. But unfortunately, you know, I think that because immigrants have gotten away with scamming and lying and fibbing on who they are on applications and different things that they have been able to hustle and bustle along, that they weren't held accountable until now. And they never seen this day coming. A lot of people were just comfortable doing whatever they wanted to do. And they never thought that they would get caught up, but the day has come. So let's listen to this. Breaking news.
Breaking news out of Washington and a big announcement from President Trump about Somalis living in Minnesota.
Tonight, the president posted on Truth Social, quote, "I am, as president of the United States, hereby terminating, effective immediately, the temporary protected status for Somalis in Minnesota. Somali gangs are terrorizing the people of that great state, and billions of dollars are missing. Send them back to where they came from," end quote. Now, we're working to learn the legality of the president's plan and the potential impact.
We know Minnesota has the largest Somali population in the United States, with the last estimate by Minnesota Compass at more than 79,000 people. Callum Gray is working on this in the newsroom, and Callum, reaction is coming in fast tonight.
That's right. Just in the last hour, Governor Walz responding, saying, quote, "It is not surprising the president has chosen to broadly target an entire community. This is what he does to change the subject," end quote. Congressmember Ilhan Omar also pushing back, posted on X, quote, "I am a citizen, and so are majority of Somalis in America. Good luck celebrating a policy change that really doesn't have much impact on the Somalis you love to hate. We are here to stay." According to National Immigration Forum, as of October, there were 705 people from Somalia in the U.S. with TPS, and we're working to get the total count here in Minnesota. Temporary protected status is meant for those whose home countries are experiencing civil unrest, violence, or natural disasters. Somali immigrants have been eligible since 1991. The Department of Homeland Security says this was most recently extended through March of next year. Homeland Security has the discretion to designate a country for TPS for periods of 6 to 18 months and can extend it if the country continues to meet the conditions for designation. I just spoke with Julia Decker with the Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota. She explained typically TPS terminations have to be posted on the Federal Register before the date the country's designation is set to expire. I just checked Homeland Security's website in the last few minutes, and Somalia is still listed. Decker also explained this is not done state by state, so the federal government will have to end TPS for all Somali immigrants, not just those here in Minnesota. The Minnesota chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations tonight says this will tear families apart, calling it a political attack based on hateful rhetoric and urging the president to reverse the decision.
But it's not really hateful if they are committing all kinds of scams and fraud. And that was pretty much brought out recently. This comes from NBC Montana. By the way, all videos that I show is under the fair use of the 1976 Act of 1976 or 78 for education, observation, entertainment, all the above, not meaning to impose, but to inform and to enlighten on what is really going on. I do understand that there's a lot of people that's hating on Trump. I know that a lot of people are saying that everything that he does is about trying to conceal the Epstein file or whatever like that. But Trump is not, he's not stopping from what he began as far as trying to clean up in his, mind, the swamp of corruption and fraud. And there was a federal investigator who warned that Minnesota welfare fraud may have helped fund Al-Shabaab. And Al-Shabaab is a terrorist group. It is linked to Al-Qaeda and is operating in Somalia. So in other words, you have these immigrants that come over here and they have other agendas that is not about uplifting and bettering the American people. It's about what they can take. It's about how they can better their situation over in Somalia. They have other allegiances that real Americans don't have. I don't have another allegiance to another country. I know a lot of people like to make it to where Black Americans should have allegiance to Africa suddenly. It doesn't work out that way, though. You can't be detached from some country for 500 plus years and then suddenly expect them to have some type of allegiance to a continent called Africa. Nonetheless, this is why it was very important, and it's the best time for us to delineate, because we now can make a separation from immigrants versus who are the real Americans of America, because the lines were blurred to the point where anyone could be an African American. Anyone could claim to be Black. anyone could be me without being me. Anyone could utilize anything connected to my history, to the lineage of civil rights and everything else, and use it as a tool to bolster themselves and elevate themselves over the American, such as me, and abuse and misuse and misrepresent what the civil rights was meant for. And so you have these Somalians come over and they have other agendas to try to help I understand that they want to help their country. I understand that they care about their people and what they're going through and all that, but it should not be at the expense of Americans. That's the issue right there. And many immigrants just have this, and this is from observation. It's not from me just making it up. I've been paying attention to how immigrants been speaking on social media for many, many years now. And they act like they are entitled, and they act like that they are owed something from America, and that whatever they need to do to get whatever they can get and get over on America, they're going to do it. And this is a prime example of what this is all about. So let's look at this video talking about welfare fraud. How you doing at Meetament, or is it, oh, ATM. Tim, how are you doing? Thank you for being here. Appreciate seeing you.
Federal prosecutors say Minnesota is grappling with one of the biggest welfare fraud waves in U.S. history. And now counterterrorism officials warn some of that money very likely ended up in the pockets of Al-Shabaab, an Al-Qaeda-linked terror group operating out of Somalia. National correspondent Kaylee Gaskins has the details from Washington.
Is the biggest funder of Al-Shabaab, the Al-Qaeda-linked terror group in Somalia, actually a Minnesota taxpayer? A federal investigator says yes. An alarming claim first reported by City Journal, which spoke with multiple former federal agents. The U.S. Attorney's Office has charged dozens of defendants across multiple schemes, including housing aid fraud, pandemic child nutrition fraud, and false billing for autism therapy. In total, prosecutors say these schemes have cost Minnesota taxpayers billions of dollars.
Still, there are people that legitimately could use those resources that are not getting those resources. It's past criminal.
Minnesota is home to one of the country's largest Somali communities. Former state fraud investigator Keish Magan, himself a Somali American, wrote last year that it's uncomfortable and true that nearly all defendants in these major fraud cases come from that community.
They have taken advantage of the most generous country in the world and one of the most generous states in that country.
And according to City Journal, some of the stolen money was sent overseas through informal cash transfer networks. Investigators say once that cash arrived in Somalia, Al-Shabaab took a cut, whether the sender intended that or not.
Pretty much across the board, people that I spoke to said...
So you have a terrorist group that is living out somewhere in the desert of Somalia, somehow getting their hands on millions or billions of dollars that were siphoned from welfare fraud and other schemes and scams that Somalians have been allowed to get away and do. And Trump is not allowing that to just be like that, because he doesn't want to give the impression that that is something that other immigrants should be able to keep getting away with. Why would you want to give that impression? Why would you allow people to come over here and abuse America like that and take advantage of us like that? And so I am in agreement with Trump on this matter to put on alert. The TPS is now being barred or revoked from the Somalians, and they should have thought about, what would happen if they got caught. They should have thought about it before they did what they did. And like I say, in my opinion, many, not all, but too many immigrants are doing the most, and they are getting away with getting in power and then siphoning monies and doing all kinds of stuff. Speaking of which, there is a Haitian woman. She is a Haitian American. She's first generation Haitian. And she recently was called out on her scamming, or she got inappropriate funds in her, let me see if I can find her. Her name is Sheila. What is her name? Sheila. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Okay, let me find that story about her, because this is very interesting. Her name is Sheila Phyllis McCormick. She is being charged with stealing $5 million, y'all. And even though she is Haitian American, she was born here in America. Her family's from Haiti. And again, some of these people that are first generation or whatever still have dual allegiance to their their home country, which, you know, we don't have any connection to any other country, but she does. But I'm going to play this real quick about her being charged. This is a representative being charged for FEMA funds. She is in Florida, and supposedly she, along with others, were caught stealing federal disaster funds. She was accused of laundering the proceeds and using the money to support her 2021 congressional campaign. The U.S. Department of Justice announced in a news release on Wednesday. So not only that, she took the money and used that to help her out to run for office. And again, just their mindset is all about getting over. In other words, too many people that have immigrant backgrounds have that scammy type of vibe about them. They want to see how they can milk the cow. They want to see how they can get over and run away into the sunset with a bag.
To get right to your top story tonight. Breaking news. A South Florida congresswoman indicted, accused of stealing millions of dollars in federal disaster funds and using the money to support her congressional campaign. Congresswoman Sheila Phyllis McCormick now facing federal charges.
She'd already been under investigation by the House Ethics Committee this summer. We have team coverage of the indictment tonight. Local 10's DC Bureau Chief Ben Kennedy staying by with reaction from Washington. But we begin with Local 10's Aaron Mabin in Miramar with the charges. Aaron.
Janice and Louie, within the last hour, attorneys for the Congresswoman said they plan to fight to clear her name.
Everybody feels like they're under attack.
Tonight, a federal grand jury indicting Congresswoman Sheila Phyllis McCormick and several associates, accusing them of stealing millions in federal disaster funds, laundering the money, and using part of it to support her 2021 congressional campaign.
The money we invested was to make sure that we can touch the people in the community, but the money didn't determine this election because most people who put a lot of money in the community, in the campaigns, they don't win.
Federal prosecutors say Phyllis McCormick and her brother Edwin Phyllis ran a FEMA-funded COVID-19 vaccination staffing contract through their family healthcare company. Prosecutors say in July 2021, the company received a $5 million overpayment. Prosecutors say the group diverted that money and tried to hide it through multiple accounts. The indictment says a large portion of those funds was used for campaign contributions and personal expenses. Prosecutors allege the South Florida Democrat and Nadege LeBlanc arranged additional donations using straw donors, funneling money to friends and relatives who then donated to the campaign as if using their own money. Investigators say the Congresswoman, with the help of her tax preparer, David K. Spencer, filed a false federal tax return, allegedly disguising political spending and personal costs as business deductions. U.S. Attorney Jason Redding Quinones writing, public money belongs to the American people. When FEMA funds are diverted for personal or political gain, it erodes trust and harms us all. Attorneys for the Congresswoman writing, she is a committed public servant who is dedicated to her constituents. We will fight to clear her good name. If convicted, the South Florida Congresswoman could face up to 53 years in prison. The co-defendants could also face decades behind bars. We're live in Miramar tonight. Aaron Maben, Local 10 News.
Aaron, thank you. And our team.
Dang, 53 years behind bars. Wow, ain't that something? Well, that's a big cost to pay for being deceitful. There's another video I wanted to show of her talking about it. You know, and then she goes into her same routine of talking about being for the people and all this type of thing, and I'm here to help the minorities and all this type of crap. They don't give a damn about helping out Black Americans. They only give a damn about helping out themselves and their own people, minus Black Americans. And that's what Black Americans are finally waking up to, understanding that these immigrant related, well, she's not an immigrant. She is a first generation Haitian, but she definitely is not looking out for us. She never would. She never has. She never will. I'm glad she was caught. And I'm trying to find this video of her talking real quick so you can hear what she had to say. Hold on, let me find that. Is this it? Hold on. And by the way, what's up, Edek? Thank you for being here. I'm glad to see you. I wasn't sure if this was going to be a good time to come on or not, but I just took a chance. I'm glad to see you. But let's play a little bit of what she had to say. Let's see. Hold on. Thank you. I appreciate that, Edek.
Millions meant for relief funds.
The Congresswoman is calling the charges unjust, but her colleagues are calling for her removal. We have live team coverage on this political firestorm starting on Capitol Hill with what the embattled lawmaker said to our own Ross Ketchke. Ross?
Well, good afternoon, guys. We've been waiting outside Congresswoman Sheriff-Phyllis McCormick's office all afternoon long. Just about an hour ago, we finally got the chance to ask her a couple of questions about these criminal charges she's now facing and calls from her colleagues here on Capitol Hill to leave office.
I look forward to my day in court so I can prove myself and actually state the truth.
Congresswoman Sheila Sheriff-Phyllis McCormick responding to new criminal charges, accusing her of stealing $5 million in FEMA funds and rerouting some of that money to her campaign.
But if this is what Congress is becoming, where they're always trying to intimidate you, scare tactics, especially attacking minorities, Black and brown people, then we're going to have to keep fighting for the district.
Sheriff-Phyllis.
Again, what does Black and brown people have to do with the allegations of her being hemmed up and caught up with stealing $5 million? They love to go right back to the same talking points of Black and brown or minorities and all this type of crap. It obviously is just a script that they use with everything that they talk on, but it has no real relevance behind ultimately what she's intending to do when she is in office or, you know, a representative or whatever like that. But I just wanted y'all to hear again, they're talking about what she's being accused of, and she wants to talk about Black and brown coalition bullshit talk. She wants to talk about minority like she is trying to be there for the people. Who is she there for? She's there for herself.
But if this is what Congress is becoming, where they're always trying to intimidate you, scare tactics, especially attacking minorities, Black and brown people, then we're going to have to keep fighting for the district.
Sheriff-Phyllis McCormick has been under investigation on Capitol Hill for some time. In May, the Office of Congressional Conduct said it found substantial reason to believe a Democrat had violated ethics rules and possibly federal law. Now a fellow Florida lawmaker is calling for her to resign or be expelled from Congress. Republican Greg Steube announcing last night he'd introduce a bill to censure Sheriff-Phyllis McCormick, but today he wrote this on social media. On second thought, I've decided to skip censure and move straight to expulsion. Defrauding the federal government and disaster victims of $5 million is an automatic disqualifier from serving in elected office. Sheriff-Phyllis McCormick needs to be swiftly removed from the House before she can inflict any more harm on Congress, her district, and the state of Florida. Local 10 asking Sheriff-Phyllis McCormick outside her office on Capitol Hill if she'll resign. What's your response to the recalls of some of your colleagues to step down or resign?
They didn't elect me. It was my district, and so we'll keep fighting For the people and keep working like we're doing now until they get what they need. So we're here for the people. So the only people who elected me should have to make that decision.
You know, no shame in her game. No shame. They don't have no qualms with being deceitful, despicable individuals. She's busted, red-handed, and she doesn't want to tap out and accept accountability for what she's done. She's just going to hold on to the power as long as she can, because again, what I've noticed for the first time in a long time is that a lot of these immigrant background folks are aspiring to be in political seats so that they can be pretty much in control of what happens to the destiny of us. And I would hope that many more of Black Americans who are indigenous to America would really want to be in political office. I wish I would have known what I know now. I would have probably thought about doing that years ago. But there is one person that I am so proud of. If you guys have never heard of her, her name is Danny C. And let me tell you, she did an opening statement before Congress recently, and I want to play what she had to say. She's been one with a few other women there in Chicago talking about flipping Chicago red. And she is a real proponent with trying to get things changed around in Chicago, dealing with Brandon Johnson, who again is a scammer, who is working for the immigrants and not for the American people. And she was invited to do some type of statement for Congress. And I really hope that she stays on this track to represent Black Americans, because we truly do not today have true representation in reality. We have people that claim to be in different seats or whatever, congressional caucus, and the senators and congresswomen and whatever. These people that have been around for a very, very long time have sold their soul a long time ago, and they could care less about what happens to us collectively as Black Americans. They have pretty much signed on this globalized, agenda that's going on. And we are witnessing and seeing all the immigrants are fighting to take over America. Literally. They're fighting to take over America. And then when they get in these seats of power and they claim to be representing so-called the American people, it's all about representing immigrants over American people, though. That's what it really boils down to. So when you finally see a real person representing for Black Americans, you're going to notice they sound different. The spirit, the intention, and the clarity is different. So I want to play what she had to say, and then we'll get back to talking about what other news is going on. But congratulations to Danny C. That's her channel name. Her real name is Mrs. Danielle Carter Walters. And she's about to break it all the way down, but I really wish there was more people that spoke like she does.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the subcommittee. My name is Danielle Carter Walters, Vice President of Chicago Flips Red. Thank you to President Donald J. Trump for giving regular citizens like me the courage to speak up. And thank you to this subcommittee for letting me share what is really happening in our city. Chicago Flips Red support the work the president is doing. And we fight for people of Chicago every day. We have also been targeted for doing what's right. Our founder, Zoe, and our advisor, Jessica Jackson, were attacked after speaking out about stolen property in poor neighborhoods. And I recently faced pushback in Cook County Court for trying to protect my community. Even with all of this, we stand with the men and women of ICE, officers who risk their lives daily. These officers get no help from Governor Pritzker or Mayor Brandon Johnson. ICE has found dangerous criminals in Chicago, violent felons, child traffickers, drug smugglers, and cartel members, all hiding under sanctuary city protection. ICE has stopped fentanyl shipments, broken up trafficking groups, and removed criminals who were hurting our neighborhoods. This work is especially needed in the Black communities that are still recovering from the crack and the AIDS crisis of 1980s and from the damage caused by the 94 crime bill orchestrated by Jim Crow Joe Biden and put into law by Bill Clinton. But instead of helping ICE, our state and city leaders block them. They refuse to share information, ignore detainers, and even threaten to arrest federal officers for just doing their jobs. Some judges have also joined in. They have made unfair rulings meant to scare ICE agents. One of the worst examples was when a judge ordered Agent Greg Brevino to report to court every day as if he were the criminal. That was not justice. It was political gains backed by the fake news media. While this is happening, Mayor Johnson, Governor Pritzker are spending hundreds of millions of dollars on illegal aliens, while regular Chicagoans struggle. Schools are crowded, crime keep rising, and families can't afford food or rent. Yet our leaders still put illegal aliens first. Over 56,000 illegal aliens are living in Chicago homes, while our veterans and homeless sleep outside. Cartel gangs like MS-13, Trendy Agua now have presence in our city. Fentanyl, guns, and human trafficking are flowing through neighborhoods that used to be filled with working families. ICE tries to stop this, but the judges, the Illinois Attorney General, the Chicago's Teachers Union, certain clergy members, the mayor, and the governor block them every step of the way. This is not compassion. This is failure. This is a betrayal of the people they were elected to protect. Chicago is broke. We're in $1 billion deficit, overpriced contracts, and shrinking middle class. Mayor Johnson blames the government in Washington, but the truth is simple. Sanctuary policies have brought chaos and corruption to our city. So we, the people of Chicago, we demand this: a federal review of how Illinois blocks ICE from doing their job, a criminal investigation into judges who target ICE officers unfairly, a full check of all the money spent by state and the city on migrant programs, police, Cook County, and federal agencies working together again with ICE, and an end to the sanctuary city policies that put our safety at risk. Sanctuary should mean safety for Americans. In Chicago, it now means giving up our rights and our security. To every leader still defending these harmful policies, your time of pretending to serve the people is over. We will speak up, we will stand up, and we will not let corruption decide the future of our city. We will take our city and state back because it's for we, the people. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's what I'm talking about. And see the difference between how other people have conditioned us to talk about minorities, black and brown, people of color. No, she said Americans. That's the biggest difference from others that come over here that have immigrant backgrounds. They want to include their people over us. And we are left in the cold when we do not have proper representation. And I hope that she will go long and hard. I feel that she's just getting started. I can see a bright future for her. Possibly, maybe she will run for something, a senator or a congressional woman or something. But we really need to have real people that's going to speak up for American people, not for everybody else but us. And that is the biggest difference in what I wanted to show. Now, I know that a lot of deportations have been going on, and a lot of it is sad to really witness. A lot of it is very harsh to witness, I must admit, but I have to keep myself grounded on the realities of what has really happened. Had it not been for Biden and allowing this condition of having overflooding of illegals here in the country, I might not have such a strong feeling about wanting to see deportations to keep on keeping. I would feel maybe a little bit compassionate, but he allowed 4 years of kept record of who was coming in and who was who and wherever they came from and what they were capable of doing or anything, to the point where we need to have these deportations at the level that they're at right now. I know that a lot of people would like to have Black Americans on the side of immigrants, trying to make their case compatible to our case when it doesn't compare, though, because we're of the soil and they came to this land willfully. They came to America to escape their reality from their homeland. They can't compare themselves to Americans, and we should not allow them to dumb us down in believing that we are one and the same, because we're not. And that's that Pan-African bullshit talk. They would like to minimize and make our status and birthright irrelevant in 2025. This is why a lot of people are trying to claim that we are immigrants. Just like that Corinne Mack bitch from NAACP tried to declare recently that we were immigrants, because they would like to have us on the same level as people that are not of the soil, that come over here willfully. And I'm trying to let y'all know, in my opinion, we should never allow anyone to make us into an immigrant, because we are not. They would love to take away our birthright. They don't like the fact that we have a birthright, that we have protections here in America from what they are experiencing right now with these deportations. But too many of them were allowed, millions of them were allowed to come over here, and just too much danger was allowed in. So I want to play now what Ted Cruz had to say to kind of remind y'all of why these deportations should continue. You know, for some reason, people are thinking in their stupid minds that Black Americans should be compassionate to millions of other immigrants over themselves. And that is stupid. That is stupid. They would never, ever put themselves at a disadvantage for you. But people expect us to look at immigrants as being the same as us so that we stay stagnant and held back while they get a leg up over us. And that's just not the mindset that you should want to have. And that is the mindset of a Pan-African. That's exactly what they preach and teach. You lower yourself down. You humble yourself down to Africans, to the concept of Blackness. You place everybody else's endeavor over yourself. And that's why Pan-Africanism is losing. That's why it's dead. And that's why they're mad, because we have woken up and we see the reality of what's really taking place in America. And now our eyes are wide open. And we can't go back to sleep. And we're not going to go back to sleep. So let's listen to what Tom Cruise had to say about the illegal immigrants and why, in my opinion, these are my opinions. I'm not a bot. I don't work for the FBI or CIA or whatever type of ridiculous type of talk that they try to place on Black Americans for having their own opinion. It is beyond me, you know. If we speak up for our own view, somehow it's got to be tied to white supremacy and FBI and CIA. I'm none of the above. I am a woman with my own mind, with my eyes open, and I'm not going to close them ever again. So let's listen to this.
The American people delivered a political earthquake, casting off the disaster of the Biden-Harris Democrat administration. There were many aspects in which their policies were harmful, but none more so than 4 years of open borders, more than 12 million people coming illegally into this country, 3 million gotaways. Gotaways, we know, are statistically much more likely to be criminals, to be murderers, to be rapists, to be child molesters, to be gang members, to be terrorists. It was not accidental, it was deliberate. And every single day of the Biden presidency, Americans were victimized, Americans were murdered, women were raped, children were brutalized by violent, criminal, illegal aliens that our federal government deliberately released into our communities. Ms. Carter Walters, you pointed out, the city of Chicago has been savaged by these policies. And I have to say, this hearing is a powerful illustration of the Democrats. They are AWOL. Every single chair on the Democrat side of the aisle is vacant, and they are representing beautifully what Democrat policy was for 4 years, protecting our communities. My home state of Texas saw a greater invasion than any state in the country. Now, a year ago, in January, President Trump came into office. And the result was stunning. This invasion ended not in a year, not in 6 months, but overnight. Illegal border crossings dropped more than 99%. Instantaneously. All three of us were at the State of the Union address where President Trump pointed out, he said a year ago, Joe Biden said he could not secure the border without new legislation from Congress. Now we've seen illegal border crossings drop 99%. As Trump said, it turns out we didn't need new legislation, we just needed a new president. We needed a president who would follow the damn law. and not release violent criminals into our communities. Sheriff Boyd, it's good to see you. You're the sheriff of Goliad County in South Texas. You lead Operation Lone Star. Tell us the difference between right now with an administration that follows the law and the preceding 4 years with an administration that released violent criminals in your county and every community across the country.
It's night and day, Senator. The quality of life for the people of South Texas has drastically improved. And you're absolutely right. The numbers show it. Turns out you didn't need new laws. All you needed to do was have the right people in charge and free up Border Patrol to do what it is that they love to do, and that's protect America. And under the leadership of Border Patrol Chief Mike Banks, they have gone out and done exactly that. And it has made a world of difference in our lives. We went from arresting smugglers on a regular basis in my small rural county. We arrested from 2021 to 2024, we arrested 98 people for smuggling and over 120 people for engaging in organized criminal activity directly tied to the Mexican cartels. We're no longer catching people for smuggling because it's hard to smuggle what Border Patrol won't let across the river.
For the first time in modern history, for the past 6 months, not a single alien apprehended at the border has been released into the interior. Sheriff, has the zero release policy dramatically reduced the burden on your deputies and on your county?
Yes, sir, it has.
ICE conducted over 100,000 arrests. Arrests of murderers, of rapists, of child predators, of gang members. And beyond them, the gang captains and cartel operatives who spread violence in our communities like a plague. We are systematically apprehending the predators who roamed free deliberately under the Democrats' policy. Sheriff Boyd, in Goliad County, is your county and is South Texas safer with these arrests and these violent criminals being deported?
It is. In the last 3 weeks alone, we've been working a joint operation with ICE and Border Patrol. We've picked up 54 people detained for ICE that are in this country illegally. 11 of those had a criminal history here in the United States of America. 9 of those have been previously deported. And so it has made a world of difference. We've focused from what's coming in to getting what's already here and getting it out.
You know, and I got to say what is amazing, a year into it, the Democrats could have come together and say, you know what, we heard the American people at the ballot box a year ago. We heard that they didn't like violent criminals being released in our communities. They could have showed up at this hearing and said, okay, it was a mistake to to ignore federal immigration law and release criminals. You know what they did instead? Instead, the Democrat base is protesting right now for open borders.
And I hope and pray that Americans, whoever you are, white or black or wherever, legal Americans, if you are legal and if you are really about American survival, you should not be rocking with Democrats. They have totally sold us out. They are not for us collectively. They've been playing in our faces for many, many years. I was not paying attention for a very long time until, the last few years I have really been paying attention. But the Democrats really don't have a care in the world about the destruction of America. They don't want to keep America, America. They want to turn America into globalization of other nations within America, and they don't mind illegals or immigrants, whoever, to usurper power over us, so long as they have millions and millions of dollars in their bank account, hundreds of millions of dollars at that they can just go wherever and avoid the inevitable of the destruction of America. If you are a true American, You don't want to see the destruction of America. Pan-Africans preach and teach that for us to have pride in America is to somehow want to see other countries struggle, which is not true. I really feel that the ambitions of immigrants should be about bettering their situation in their home country, but no, they have escapism. A lot of them escape away from their home country and they never look back. And they come to America, Canada, UK, or wherever and leave behind what is going on in their home country. They don't want to address the government for the most part. They want their hands clear and free of sacrifice. So they come to places where people had to sacrifice, which entails blood loss, which entails sweat and tears and labor. That's what has to happen in every other country before it changes into being a better nation or country. Sacrifice. The problem is most of these immigrants want to live off of the vapors of Black Americans' ancestor sacrifice. And the problem that we're noticing is that they're coming over here and they're using civil rights towards their plight while disrespecting Black Americans and showing disdain and hatred for the Black Americans of this soil. We look at what's going on social media. Everywhere you turn, you can't go anywhere without people discussing Black Americans. They are discussing who we are. They're claiming that we have identity crisis because they want to control our narrative. They want to control what we think, what we say about ourselves. They want to try to usurp and manipulate us into dumbing us down into this oneness of thought, which is again keeping us hindered. Pan-Africanism is a tool used for fools to keep us locked down dumb. And we're finally waking up to the reality that has been used against us to keep us stupid. But when you see true stories of what's been happening in the country, how these deportations are needed and why they were needed in the first place, because of what Biden, who was a Democrat, allowed to have happen on his watch on purpose. He purposely left the border wide open for 12 million people to just walk on in. And people are confused that we are not batting an eye about them being deported out. This is for our survival. It's for the survival of this country that they needed to be deported out. And that is not about linking up with white supremacy. That's about preserving oneself, self-preservation. That's what it is. That's as simple as I can make it. But you have other people that will hear me, and because they have their own agenda and they are wanting to take the place of what Indigenous Americans have, they would like to twist and spin the narrative to mean something that it's not.
Saying we want to go back to open borders. We want the invasion. Put the next poster up. We want the invasion to come back. It is difficult to think of a policy that is more harmful to our communities than releasing violent criminals into our communities. And I, for one, am glad we have an administration that will now enforce the law and keep our communities safe. Thank you to each of the witnesses. Thank you for the work you're doing. I hope and pray we will never go back to another administration that for partisan political purposes says, we're going to release gang members and murderers and rapists into your community, and we're going to look the other way as Americans are murdered and sexually assaulted. I hope that never again that happens. Thank you.
Man, he broke it all the way down, you know. So you have a Haitian man who was a permanent resident, and he recently was deported back to Haiti. And I just want to show y'all some of the stories that are afflicting some of these immigrants that come over here. People that are not of the soil. They came to this land by their own will and determination to come. And for some reason or another, they decided not to make themselves legal, not to go through the process of making themselves legal. And now they have been caught up into the whirlwind of Trump and these deportations that are now happening right now. And unfortunately, even if I have a heart for some of these cases, I got to remember all the millions others that I will not have a heart for. And I have to keep in mind that, you know, just 12 million people. I mean, that's not something to sneeze at. 12 million people illegally are here, let in for 4 years. They got to be dealt with. They just have to be.
CBS News Miami's Tanya Francois spoke to the couple about what they are going to do next.
Idris Michelin moved to South Florida when he was just 3 years old. Now at 32, he's back in Haiti with his American wife. He says he committed a crime and now he's living the consequences.
I still don't feel like I'm home. I still feel like I'm just roaming. I feel uneasy.
For the past few weeks, Idris Michelin and his wife Yamil have been walking the streets of Haiti, trying to mentally accept that this is now home.
I lived in the country 30 years. I never got in trouble, but I made a mistake. My morals became corrupted.
Idris was deported after serving 25 months in federal prison and 9 months in ICE custody. He was convicted of getting an illegal PPP loan back in the summer of 2020. He was living in the United States as a permanent resident, graduated from Southbridge High School, and went on to Miami-Dade College. He was a licensed realtor and insurance broker. After serving his sentence earlier this month, Michelin was deported to Haiti on a flight with 120 people.
Your ankles are getting cut up. Your hands are shackled together. You know, they're telling you, hey, if there's a plane crash, you're going to grab this from here and you're going to put this on your face. How?
He says once in Cap Haitian, they were given $100 and released to family. His wife was waiting.
There's people that left only 2-3 years ago that are afraid to come here, and she's here.
The temporary protective status, or TPS, for more than 330,000 Haitians will end on February 3rd of next year. Without any other immigration protections, some may find themselves, like Idris, back in Haiti.
It's very limited here. So if you're going to be dropping tens of thousands of people in one location, and these people live all over the country, but they're not going to be able to get home. There's bandits blocking the road in certain areas.
The two took a helicopter and a bus to get to Petit Guave, where Idris has family. He says they have resources others may not.
And now that I'm here, you know, to my country where my flag is, the people are wonderful. The people work hard, but they're trying to overcome obstacles, and I'm here trying to overcome obstacles as well.
Settling down is the next step. Admittedly, the couple says they don't know how.
I speak a little bit of Creole, and I'm struggling.
The couple have a combined 8 kids, who Idris hasn't seen in years. They want to reunite in a third country, except there are very few countries that are allowing visas to Haitians. So the couple remain in limbo. In Little Haiti, Tanya Francois, CBS News, Miami.
All right. So that's a very unfortunate situation, but luckily for him, his wife, who's American, decided to move with him to Haiti, which is very interesting. I would never want to do something like that. I guess there's not a lot of people watching because from what I'm seeing, there's only 3 people watching. I had hoped to have other people in the chat room to kind of converse with, but there's nobody really here to converse with. So I'm going to end this live now. I'm just going to make a last minute statement, which is I feel, as an American of the soil, we have got to face reality versus what other people are trying to impose on us to look like or think like for their benefit and not ours. The name of the game is to get us out of our square so others can basically take advantage of that. It's really going on right now with Pan-Africans very upset about, us deciding for the first time to make a separation of who we are here in America versus other people that willfully decided to come to this land. They are not Americans first. They are not American minded in spirit or lineage. So I don't feel like I owe anyone anything but the truth of what is going on and trying to spread awareness of what, we're up against. I guess I'll close with this last video. From time to time, you'll find an African who will speak the truth. And this video came from the No Rubbish Zone. The first time I ever seen this video. I believe he's from Africa. He does not look like a Black American to me. And in the comment section, it states that he is from Zimbabwe originally, but currently staying in America. But he is saying a truth that I feel that other immigrants and Africans especially need to hear from this guy. And I really appreciate when Africans speak the truth because, again, I don't like being confrontational, really. But, the truth has to be told one way or the other. I just feel that it should be told by Africans themselves. However, most of them are trying to scheme and scam. So you're not really going to get a lot of truth speakers or bearers from Africans a lot. But on occasion, you will get them to speak the truth. So I'll close out this video with this last video because there's nobody here actually. So I'm going to come back maybe in the next few days and we'll do another live and catch up. But for now, let me play this real quick.
I really believe that you native Africans should stop coming to America and stop trying to tell the American people how to run the country. America is not your country. It never was, and it never will be. But I see some of you on TikTok, and you're being very mouthy. You're on TikTok trying to tell Americans how to run America. Well, I figure that if you knew so much, you'd be back in your home country telling that government over there how to run whatever African country that you came from. Instead of doing that, you decided that you're going to get on a plane and come to America. Now you're on social media trying to tell American people how to run America. It is my personal opinion that black people should be in black countries helping to develop black countries. That's just my opinion. That black people should be in black countries helping to.
That's my only exception to what he's saying. African people should be helping Africans in Africa. You cannot say black people, you cannot put on black Americans this heavy yoke upon them to have to do something for Africa, because it's not our continent, it's not our home, it's not our problem, it's not on our list of priority. But again, he's slipping in the notion of being black somehow. We all should be concerned about Africa and other things like that. I don't believe that. I think you should be concerned about home. And I'm home. So I'm concerned about homeless people here. I'm concerned about veterans here. I'm concerned about, people struggling here with homes and lack of homes, lack of money and opportunities and whatnot, what's going on with Trump and how it's going to ripple affect other Americans over time. I think that we should get prepared for the worst with Trump moving forward. I say, in my opinion, we should not spend a lot of money for the holidays, especially Christmas. A lot of people spend thousands of dollars that they don't really have to spend on stupid Christmas. And then the first year, the beginning of the new year, they end up busted and disgusted and broke. And then if Trump decides to do what he's been trying to do with shutdowns and whatnot, then you'll be caught up and fucked off. I say, hold on to your money and wait and see what's going to happen in the next few months. And take care of your family. Take care of the homeless people near you. And just leave it at that. It's not our job to worry about Africa and other people all over the world. We're not Jesus. We're not Superman. We're not people that's going to save the world. We're not going to designate ourselves as being people that's going to sacrifice ourselves for other people. No more. We're not doing that. And that's the memo that a lot of immigrants are not wanting to accept. We are not accepting in this day and age of 2025 for us as Indigenous American Blacks to be sacrificed for the betterment of you. No. If you want to better your situation, immigrant, or African, or Caribbean, or whoever you are, foreign black, or others that come here to America, you need to think about your own sacrifice, because that's what's needed for you to change whatever's going on in your homeland. Don't put that off on Black Americans. Too many of y'all put this off on us, and we are rebuking it. We are denouncing it. We're not accepting it. But I'll let him continue.
Develop third world black countries and help him to make them into first world nations. America does not need black Africans coming into America telling Americans how to build America. If you knew so much, you'd be back in your home country telling your government how to build up that country. So you really need to leave America, go back to whatever African country you came from, and tell that government over there how to run that country. This country, America, really doesn't need or want your advice. And you need to ask yourself, if your country is a third world country, why would America be letting you into America? why would the U.S. government be letting you into its country when you really have shown that you really don't know how to build a country? You need to ask yourself a question. Why is it these Western countries actually let you Africans into their countries? Ask yourself what they really want with you. And stop coming to foreign countries such as the United States, actually telling this government how to run a country. A lot of you is on TikTok, and I realize how mouthy you are on TikTok. You seem to be opinionated about everything that goes on in America. Some of you is coming over here and you are criticizing the behavior of Black Americans. Okay? The reality is it really doesn't matter how they behave. It's really none of your business. So you really need to go back to your home country and tell those people and your government how to build up a country. And you need to be over there and you need to be criticizing their behavior the same way how you criticize the behavior of Black Americans.
I liked that video. It was unexpected. I did not expect that video. It just came across my what do you call it? When the videos just popped up. I don't know how it showed up, but it just came from nowhere. And I just listened to it and I was like, wow, an African is actually speaking the truth. It's not easy for them to speak the truth and show themselves, because a lot of people again are out for our jugular. They really want us to feel bad about what they're going through, and and so they take off on us, they scapegoat us. And he let it be known that don't scapegoat. Use that energy towards what you need to be doing in your home country. How about that? Don't put your feelings of despair and hopelessness onto a people that have nothing to do with what is going on with what Trump's doing. We have no power to stop or start these deportations. We didn't foresee him doing what he's doing to the degree that he's doing it. But I think that it's needed because of the 12 million people that were allowed to flood in. This is why I voted for Trump, for that reason. And as y'all know, the birthright citizenship is being talked about ending. And you want me to keep talking? Okay, I'll talk a little bit more. I'm not sure because there's nobody in the chat room. It just looks like there's only 2 people here. And it's frustrating because I would like to have more people to give their opinion and talk and whatnot. It makes the live a lot better. I don't really speak off the top of my dome like many other people do. I kind of converse with people and then I can talk better once I am conversating with people in the chat room. That's when it makes the live real. Anyways, I'll talk about the birthright citizenship because again, this is what is being highly debated. who is deserving of birthright citizenship and who is not. And many immigrants, again, want to get this birthright citizenship with their anchor babies by just simply flying over here in America and landing up with a child and becoming Americanized just like that. And I don't think that that's the way that the amendment was meant to be, like Trump has said himself. And I did not realize that people were abusing that amendment to the degree of the abuse until he brought it out. When he brought it out, I was like, damn, they've been doing all of this like this. I mean, I remember Akon admitting that his father deliberately had his mother fly into America just to have him in America. So this is a real thing that immigrants have been able to use the loophole of the Amendment 14 left unchecked. And now Trump is saying no more. No more. So let's catch up on the birthright citizenship. Again, it's highly debatable. It's going to the Supreme as far as who can remain citizens, especially if the parents of the child was not even a citizen to begin with. I don't believe people that come over here randomly should be afforded birthright citizenship and they're not even citizens. It's a no-brainer to me. I think that what Trump's doing is the right thing, or you don't want to see America stand, then you allow anybody and everybody to do whatever the hell they want to do. And he's not allowing that.
Immigration landscape, reshaping long-standing norms and prompting nationwide discussion about citizenship, identity, and the future of family-based immigration. After years of debate, legal disputes, and policy proposals, the country has entered a new phase in which birthright citizenship is no longer automatically guaranteed for all children born on American soil. The move marks one of the most consequential adjustments to immigration rules in modern history, touching communities across the nation and raising questions that will continue to shape public life for years to come. The turning point arrived when an executive directive reinterpreted the parameters for citizenship at birth, placing new emphasis on the legal status of parents. For more than a century, birthplace alone was enough to secure citizenship for nearly every child born within the United States. That long-standing principle had helped define the country's approach to identity, inclusion, and belonging. But with the new policy, automatic citizenship now applies only to children with at least one parent who is either a United States citizen or a lawful permanent resident. This change applies to families from all backgrounds and impacts, children born to undocumented parents, temporary visitors, international students, and long-term residents without permanent status. As the policy took effect, federal agencies were instructed to stop issuing citizenship documentation to children who no longer met the updated criteria. Hospitals and state offices were directed to verify parental information at the time of birth, creating a wave of administrative adjustments across the country. Many families responded with uncertainty as they navigated the new requirements and questioned how the rules would affect their children's future access to essential services, travel documents, and social protections. Legal challenges emerged almost immediately. Civil rights organizations, immigration advocates, and coalitions of states filed lawsuits arguing that the executive directive represented an unprecedented break from historical legal interpretation. These groups contended that such a major shift required legislative action rather than administrative authority. Several courts issued temporary blocks in certain states, while litigation proceeded, creating a patchwork of enforcement and deepening public confusion about who qualified for citizenship. A key Supreme Court decision soon altered the situation. Rather than ruling directly on the validity of the new directive, the court determined that lower courts did not have the authority to issue sweeping nationwide blocks on federal policy in this context. As a result, the directive became enforceable across most of the country, although a handful of states maintained temporary protection due to ongoing lawsuits. The ruling allowed the new framework to stand while the broader constitutional debate continued. Communities around the nation have felt the effects differently. In states where the directive remains paused, families experience little change for now. But in the majority of states, the shift has introduced questions about documentation, access to benefits, and legal standing for newborn children. Many families with mixed immigration status have expressed heightened concern, unsure whether their children may face complications in schooling, healthcare access, or future immigration applications. In some cases, there are also questions about the risk of statelessness if neither the United States nor the parent's home countries recognize the child as a citizen. This development places the United States.
And that is a terrible thing to have hanging over your head, I'm sure. But it needed to be addressed, the birthright citizenship. Let me see if I can find any new information about the birthright citizenship. I really wish others would give me your opinion on how you feel about the birthright citizenship, but there's nobody here. For some reason, I have a lot of people that listen, but they hide for some reason, which is bizarre to me. But anyways, I'm going to see if there's anything new to bring to light about what is going on with this. Let me see. Courthouse news. After winning round one, President Trump wants the justices to tee up a final showdown on birthright citizenship. In a private session Friday, the Supreme Court will consider putting President Donald Trump's bid to limit birthright citizenship back on the docket in 2026. Last term, the policy was postscript to the conservative majority's blockbuster ruling on universal injunctions, court orders that blocked limits on birthright citizenship nationwide. But if the justices give in to Trump's updated request, they'll be forced to confront the administration's battle to recast citizenship and 150 years of history standing behind the core tenets of what it means to be an American. It just shows how comfortable he is challenging consensus, whether or not he's right or wrong. Smith Gosh, senior appellate counsel at the Constitutional Accountability Center, said, Gosh said that the administration's arguments before the Supreme Court mirror its broader political goals. Some of the things that the government has cited in the petition for Satori are arguments or sources that were in dissonance in Supreme Court cases. The court has already rejected these types of arguments, but that doesn't really matter to him. Maybe it's part of the desire to portray his administration as one to whom to establish rules don't apply. I skipped down a little bit. Limiting birthright citizenship was one of Trump's first actions upon retaking the White House in January. In day one executive order, Trump declared that some children of immigrants would be excluded from the priceless and profound gift of U.S. citizenship. In the ensuing months, Trump has sought to cement his version of American citizenship by not only cracking down on illegal immigration, but also uplifting a narrative to support his claims, truth and sanity, needed to be restored to American history. Trump declared an executive order in March attacking efforts to examine the history of race in society as casting founding principles and historical milestones in a negative light. The administration ordered attempts to diversify society and culture to remedy past discrimination wiped from federal governance, uplifted claims of a white genocide in South Africa to welcome Afrikaner refugees while dismissing protective statuses for asylum seekers from Venezuela, Haiti, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Syria, and deploy a messaging campaign that have been tied to white nationalism to recruit new employees to arrest immigrants. Well, I'm not going to read more. I'm just going to say that it's still ongoing with this birthright citizenship. And if Trump has it his way for the new year, it's going to bar those that come to America for the purposes to anchor themselves to this soil by having a baby, to usurper and use the Amendment 14, which they did not earn, because that was my ancestors and our people, the indigenous American blacks, earned. But these others come over here and literally use the blood, sweat, and tears of Black Americans' amendment towards their own plight. It's unbelievable. It's unfreaking believable. But I think that it should be stopped and limited like Trump is doing. Like, I don't agree with everything that Trump does. I don't like everything that he's doing. But as far as trying to keep America, and the integrity of the Constitution being upheld and honored the way it should have been honored, Trump is doing. Trump is doing that. So, EDEC, there's nobody else here but you. I tried my best, you know. I just want to say that I will be back from time to time when I have a feeling to come back on. It won't be, it just will be out of the blue to come back on and just spill, you know, the beans on what I feel at the moment on the topic. I just hope that we as Black Americans would continue to talk and be bold and pretty much kick the Pan-Africans out of our faces. They're going to stay on fire about us delineating, and oh well, because we never signed up to be a Pan-African. They thought that they could just talk around us and talk despite of us and make us Pan-African, whether we approve of it or not, which is very disrespectful and really deceitful if you really think about that. And now that they've been called to the carpet and we're letting them know up front that we are not rocking with Pan-Africanism. We're not. We don't believe what you believe in, because if you really believe in what you believe in, Professor Smalls and every other Pan-African dumb bird, you would take your ass and stay in Africa and work with the Africans about their plight and what they need to do in Africa. No, you stay your bitch ass in America talking shit to Black Americans all damn day long. And we're sick of it. We don't want to hear you. We don't care about what you're talking about at all. So anyways, I try my best to stay on, but there's nobody here. So I'll be back in the next couple of days, 2 to 3 days. I'll be back. And I'll talk more about Professor Smalls and other things that I have in mind. I'll maybe need to come on early in the morning because I think I get more people then. So maybe I just came on a little bit too late. But please hit the like button. Please like, share, subscribe. This is not about hate. This is about telling the truth. And Pan-Africanism is dead. The truth of what we are dealing with here and now as being Americans, we are not rocking with the Pan-African bullshit, whether they like it or not. We don't give a damn about Professor Smalls. I don't give a damn about none of y'all. Fuck Marcus Garvey and anybody that think that he represented us. Take your asses to Africa. Where is the Haitians and Jamaicans and other immigrants that are being deported? Why won't y'all take your asses to Africa and be merry and happy as a lark, as they claim that we should be? Why aren't the Pan-Africans encouraging Haitians and Jamaicans and others to go to Africa? Nobody says anything to these people about Africa, but they stay steadily talking to Black Americans about going back to Africa. Again, they're trying to swap out our destiny for theirs. That's what it boils down to. And that's not what we want to have happen. So I'll be back in the next few days. Love y'all.